Hey, welcome back again. Emory Ogletree, second, the main attraction here. My boy VJ here for part 2. We got into college sports, both football and basketball in part 1. Now we're going to get into the NBA, my sport, basketball. I love it. I could talk about it all day, as you already know. So you know the first one I want to talk about, VJ, man. I want to talk about KD. You know, and I'm not even going to just beat around the bush about it. KD's legacy, give it to me. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna tread lightly because he's from the DMV and I'm from the DMV. So shout out to the DMV. I always show love to all the athletes that come out of the DMV. What his legacy will be is that he's a great player. He's a great scorer. I think people are forgetting now. It's starting to go away like LeBron. Once years go by, we don't care about the decision anymore. And I think once years start to go around, we don't really care that he went and joined the 73-win team. But I'll tell you right now, if he leaves this team after this year, I think it takes a hit to his legacy. If he leaves this year, you better stay there. He better stay there and play for Golden State until they don't want him no more. Because now, we already know guys ring chase. But it's kind of like before the older dudes did it, so it was okay. Peyton, Malone, older guys, Antoine Walker with the Heat. Older guys were allowed to, and it was like, especially when you put your grind in 12, 13 years with a franchise, and you don't get, it's like, dude, he 37, let him at least go try to have one of these one day to just be able to look and show his grandkid. I get it, but when you doing it in your prime, and you just kind of, you know, one thing I'll say about KD that does bother me about him is he pays way too much attention to the noise.
Oh, so sensitive.
Way too much attention to the noise, and I've even had to learn in this career, you got to just learn to scroll. I would put that on a shirt. Learn to just scroll. Just scroll. You don't have to read everything. You don't have to click. I cover sports. I call sports for networks. You think everybody loved me calling sports 2 weeks ago or the last month of the football season? No, there's always a guy that's this, this guy doesn't know. Like, I keep on going. Because God got my plan laid out for me. No other man. He needs to learn that.
Amen to that.
And one thing else people need to stop saying, stop calling Golden State Kevin Durant's team, because it's not. That's Steph Curry's team.
And we saw that, after Steph went out November 8th.
Exactly.
Once Steph went out November 8th, I mean, put it this way. 5-5.
Exactly. That's all they're 500 team.
500 team.
Without Steph Curry. Let's stop trying to play Steph. And it goes back to 3 finals ago when they lost the 3-1 lead to Cleveland. But nobody really wants to talk about how Steph really played at about 60%. You play ball. Let me see you drain your knee, and then you go play in the playoffs. Let me see how well and how quick you can move.
And he wasn't the same player. Draymond getting suspended was also
that was huge.
Draymond, because Draymond was finals MVP.
He cost his team a championship, in my opinion.
He did, absolutely.
He cost his team a championship.
This is me when it comes to KD's legacy. When I feel it'll all be said and done, let's say only God knows in the end, as you said. This is where I'll put KD for me.
Okay.
3rd or 4th greatest small forward of all time.
Small forward.
Maybe. Maybe. No, so you don't have to figure it out now. Let's say you can
just
think about
thinking
it.
quick.
Yeah, well, you can do that.
Bird and LeBron.
Debatably, at the moment, could he possibly be the all-time leading scorer in the history of the NBA? Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, you say if he leaves now, it would hit his legacy.
Yeah.
It's already been hit for me the moment he left OKC. And I think we talked about this the very first time we met. It was just in a conversation during one of those times. Yeah. And here's why I'll tell you why. The Oklahoma City Thunder, to me, is a bigger tragedy than the Orlando Magic. No, they did that 30 for 30 on Shaq and Penny. Yeah. OKC is a bigger one. And I think they should go 30. I'll tell you why. Okay. Bigger tragedy to me. Never in the history of the NBA, OKC drafted 3 MVPs who played on the same team at one time. Never been done in the history of the game. Let's think about this. Yeah. Now, a young OKC team played LeBron, D. Wade, and the Heat in the finals. Yeah. Now, it just wasn't their time. It was LeBron's time. And I got that. But you're not going to sit here and tell me, all these years later, after we're past that point, Harden's guy's MVP, Russ guy's MVP, KD's guy's MVP, that they, for one, would have still been the same players, that them on the same team, that team wasn't making it in a dynasty. And you can't sit here and tell me when OKC had Golden State dead to rights, down 3-1, I was totally forgetting. I mean, anybody who knows me knows Russ is my favorite player.
Oh, really?
Okay. I love Russ. But
I love Russ too.
But I was like, oh God, OKC going to the finals. It's like it should be in. And somehow, out of nowhere, Golden State comes back, and there's a whole, the whispers
Klay
of
Thompson in the 3rd quarter.
That too, and then the whispers of, well, KD's not a dog like Russ, and whose team is it? Russ's team is KD's team, and like I said, we go back to that sensitive point because KD listens to this stuff. And the one thing that bothered me about that, Golden State already had their title. They had their title. They didn't necessarily need Kevin Durant. Now, my boy, he'll probably watch this. I can hear him right now. He was a free agent. He can do whatever he wants to do. Respect that. I respect that. I do. But here's where I'm at. KD, to me, is a generational player. And I feel generational players deserve to create their own legacies where I say, like, he should have been the leader of his own team to take him to a finals. Now, with OKC, it would have been a little different. Like I said, that squad they had, Russ, Harden, KD, Ibaka, it just goes on and on. Yeah. They were all drafted. Yeah. Now,
Reggie Jackson was coming off the bench.
It could have been whispers of, well, who really led him? It wouldn't have mattered to me. But the fact that he went to Golden State, and I wasn't a fan of it, because I was like, come on, KD, I'd much rather see you be the man in your own squad. And like we just sat here and said, Steph clearly shown this is his squad by the fact they're going 5-5.
Yes.
And in that fact, we know KD can get buckets. But I said, but at the end of the day, KD going to Golden State, you want to call it ring chasing, whatever, fine. He got it. I mean, how can you bet against him? I can hear Broussard right now, but Broussard got on me because the fact that I went with the Cavs to beat Golden State. He's there saying, they're not going to win. I was like, I can only.
I was at the game watching it.
Exactly.
I was looking at you across the table like, bro.
Exactly.
Like, so who on here you don't like? Because you just talking crazy.
Exactly.
Right now.
But that Ohio love. That's all it was. But I mean, but right now, for where I'm at with KD, with you, if KD left Golden State, that'd just be a double hit for me. And I'm gonna put it to you this way. I used an example that really ruffled a lot of feathers, even online. I'm going to say it here to you now. If KD left and went to another team, let's say it was the Lakers, which if it is, I may ban the NBA for a season, because if they don't win the championship, there's something wrong. Yeah. But let's say he went to Lakers. I made that the equivalent. I said, to me, KD would then become the Deion Sanders of the NBA.
Almost like a higher for hit kind of guy.
Thank you. You get it. Yeah. You get that. See, when I said that originally,
almost like a higher for hit.
No one understood what I meant, and I told him, like, if you look at the window, I was like, yeah, bro, you can't compare football and basketball. I was like, I'm just comparing the move.
Yeah.
I was like, remember when Deion got traded to San Fran from Atlanta?
Yep.
I was like, you still have Steve Young, you still have the GOAT and Jerry Rice. I mean, Deion just sat there and gave them the extra notch for them to go win that Super Bowl and smack San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
Well, that's KD.
And beat Dallas in the NFC Championship.
Exactly. I was like, what do you think KD was when he got to Golden State? They didn't need KD. But when you add KD, it's kind of like, well, hell, what are we going to do? Yeah. Now here we are, 2 finals MVPs later, he's got his rings. But now with his upcoming free agency, if he does leave, and if the whispers are true that he goes to LA, if he goes join LeBron, once again, another first. When in the history of the NBA, have you ever seen the number one, number two, you can throw them whatever you want, play on the same team?
Yeah.
On the same team. And you tell me that doesn't whisper of Deion said you are the first and probably the only person, second person,
I get it.
because my boy did eventually come around, who understood that comparison. I was like, it's Deion Sanders. Yeah. But I was like, but for me, in terms of the legacy, I was like, that's why I put him third or fourth. But I'll tell you, this will be my list. LeBron, Bird, KD, Pippen. But I would honestly always put
Pippen over Barkley.
Barkley went up small forward. Barkley was power forward.
Barkley plays small. He
could play small, but he's more recognized as a power forward though.
I recognize him as a three.
I've always put him at the four.
I've
always put him at the four. Yeah. But I was like, but the reason why I would put KD at the four, I was like, look, Pippen doesn't get the respect I think he deserves.
Of course
he does not get the respect he deserves. I was like, you can't overlook the fact that Mike doesn't have 6 without Pippen.
Oh, well, of course.
He doesn't have 6 without Pippen. Of course,
yeah.
And that is why, because Pippen was instrumental to those 6, it's why I would put him above KD just for that. I'm not saying necessarily he was a better player. Well, at least not offensively. Defensively, I might go.
Oh, he was a better defender.
KD doesn't play D.
Absolutely,
doesn't play D like
Pippen guarded 1 through 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, but offensively, it's not even a debate. KD's a much better. But that's why it would be if I put KD at 4, it would be LeBron, Bird, Pippen, KD. Just simply for that fact, because unless KD goes to say a New York, which I could live with. You know, if he joined forces with a Porzingis, who we don't know what the status of him right now, but
or Kyrie,
or that's right,
or Kyrie.
Something tells me that Kyrie's gonna stay in Boston, but I could be wrong.
I think Kyrie's out.
I
think he's the guy that's out. Everybody wants to put it on Durant. All these. I was just texting Chris the other day. He said, "Win or lose, he's gone." I don't agree. With Durant. Yeah. I don't agree though.
Well, I mean, Chris,
said, yeah.
Chris got an insight that we don't have, no, not yet at least.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean,
that don't mean you always right, Chris.
They didn't empty this card. It's about